Hi, my name is Shad Bogany. Welcome to the Real Estate Corner on Iconic TV 15.10. Well, guys, we're going to have an interesting show. This is a topic that when I'm doing the radio show, I get lots of phone calls, lots of emails about. And it's about estate planning. And in the studio with us this morning, I've got Megone Trewick, and she is an attorney who specializes in estate planning. And this is really important because it not only affects real estate, but it trickles down to everything in your life when you don't plan your estate properly. And so we're going to hit some hard topics. Some of these you're going to say, I didn't know, but that's what the Real Estate Corner is all about, is informing the public. Because when I will share with you, I was looking the other day, and this is census data. Only 29% of African Americans own their own home in the city limits of Houston. Only 33% of Hispanics. Only 42% of Asian. 57% of the white population. Now, we are the most diverse city in the country, right at about 77, 78%. But only 38% of the minorities in the city of Houston own their own home. All of this is census data, so if you want to know, Shad, where'd you get that from? Because I'm hearing other figures. This is census data, the most recent census data. And so what estate planning does, it keeps you from losing the wealth that you created over your lifetime and allowing you to convey it to those that you want to convey it to. So attorney Megone Trewick is here with us. She's with Brian Fagan, a law firm.
Yes.
Brian Fagan Law Firm. And I'm going to just turn it over. She's going to introduce herself to you, and then we're going to get rolling into the Real Estate Corner. And of course, you catch us on 15.10. We're on Apple TV. We're on Iconic TV. You can download the app and you can stream. And of course, every Tuesday, we are on KWWJ 1360 AM, and we've been doing that show now for 31 years. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Trewick and have her introduce herself. She also does a webinar, so she's going to mention that too. And then we're going to get into this great topic on estate planning so your wealth doesn't get destroyed.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Protecting your family and leaving a legacy for them, that's what's important. And my name is Megone Trewick. I am an estate planning attorney. I specialize in estate planning and real estate. Okay. So thank you for inviting me here today. When I talk about estate planning and real estate, I light up and I can talk all day.
All right. Well, I knew you were an expert, and so I wanted, and I thought you do bring the special being a real estate attorney and an estate, because what I found, Ms. Trewick, sometimes they're not the same, and you get conflicted ideas and thoughts, and where you're told something where in the real world it doesn't work.
And then when you put all that together with probate law, then you have a totally new animal.
Okay.
And so and that's why I do what I do. I did probate work first, and then you can't do probate work if you don't do estate planning. And when you're doing estate planning, you need to put that together with real estate law in order to have a holistic approach to this area of law, to make sure that you're protecting your family, you're protecting your estate, and you're actually leaving the legacy that you think you're leaving. And so the first Thursday of every month, we have our estate planning webinar. This month it will be December 9th. It will be a webinar. You can go to Facebook, click in Brian Fagan, Bryan Fagan, and just register for the webinar. It's free. I won't charge you, even though what you're getting is worth every penny. And so you register, it's free. And we go through an hour and a half of estate planning. We discuss trusts, wills, and how probate factors into that. And so today I'm going to bring a more concise version of that webinar. But if you want to really see the whole thing, the 9th of December, 6 p.m., go on to Facebook, Brian Fagan, and register for the webinar.
Okay. We've got Mrs. Megone Trewick, attorney Trewick, here in the studio with us. So let's start off with, why is estate planning so important? You kind of touched on it, But a lot of people feel, well, I don't have anything, so why should I do it? I don't own a home. Why should I have a estate? I only have one house and one child. Why should I have a estate plan?
I hear that all the time, and I
Mhm.
hear that from people who do not have a house and who do not have a child, and they say, "Why am I planning?" And I say to that person, because you don't have a house and because you don't have a child, you definitely need to plan for your estate because your estate is you.
Ah, okay.
And
Okay.
when you're planning, you're saying, how am I going to take care of myself while I'm alive? And what am I going to do with those things when I pass on? Because estate planning is for living people.
Right.
Probate is for dead people.
Okay. Okay.
So if you're breathing, you need an estate plan. I got into this area of law because of my wonderful grandfather. His name is Etan Gordon. And he was full of life.
Okay.
He took care of everybody. When I came to America, you can hear my accent. Don't worry about it. It's Jamaican. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
When I came here, living with my grandfather, we would do everything together. And my grandfather just assumed that everyone, maybe he wasn't assuming, but he came from the background that if you do good, then other people will do good back to you.
Right, right.
But when you're in this area of law, you have to plan for the eventualities wherein people don't do what's right. And my grandfather and my grandma, they got married, they settled in Summerfield, Florida on 15.5 acres. My grandfather did not have an estate plan.
Okay.
He thought that his property would just move on to his children. He didn't need an estate plan. Why? All my kids are going to get my things anyway.
Right.
What happened is he had an accident. He had someone set up a trust for him. Not all trusts are made the same.
Okay.
That person put his estate in the trust, and then that person set themselves up as the trustee for that trust and stole all of our family's legacy.
So the trust was the person who had created the trust.
So my grandfather, he's the trustor. He created the trust. He was not the trustee.
Ah, okay, trustee. Okay.
The person that created the trust made himself the trustee. And then my grandfather, so trusting, allowed that to happen. And after my grandfather passed, we learned that the trustee gave himself a mortgage on my grandfather's house and then foreclosed on it. So when you're entering the area of law, when you're entering the area of I need to make sure my plan is going to be effective, you have to make sure you're going to trustworthy people. On the flip side of that is someone who did not set up a trust and then leave their property thinking that all their children will just inherit it and take care of themselves. But what I've seen from my 20 plus years of practicing is that the children fight. You end up, instead of giving them a legacy, give them a legacy of hatred and strife within the family. And you did that because you didn't plan while you were alive. Estate planning is for living people.
Okay.
And when you do that, you're telling the next generation, I love you. And because I love you, I'm going to plan for you. And so I ask people, when they come before me, I say, if something should happen to you, what would happen to your family? If right now you pass away, or worse yet, because passing away sometimes is not the worst thing that happened to your family. If you fall into a deep coma, if you're in a tragic circumstance where you need a nursing home plan or something like that, what would happen to your family? And what I've seen, at least 60% of people say, I don't know. I don't know is one of the most dangerous things I can see. For instance, you get in a stroke, you end up needing nursing home care. A private room in Texas right now, private room is about $91,000, $92,000. Not everybody has $91,000, $92,000 in their bank account to help pay for that private room.
Okay.
So what you have is a situation wherein a family member may have to quit their work, or sometimes you don't have the adequate aid that you have. And then you're stuck in a situation where you're not getting care, where you're slipping into bankruptcy. And that is not a good deal. A little bit of estate planning goes a long way. You can set yourself up so that in the eventuality that you need to go to a nursing home, you have means to pay for it. If you don't have $92,000 in your pocket, you can set up your estate plan, set up your trust so that you can have Medicaid paying for it. There are many things that you can do. And one trip to a good, trustworthy attorney can help you along that road.
Hi guys, you are watching the Real Estate Corner. We're on Iconic TV every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and then we repeat this show Sunday evening at 8 p.m. I wanted to really get into the estate planning. Attorney Trewick has kind of taken us through it. She's given us a scenario of how it works, who's going to pay for what, and she's so correct about we assume that the family, the kids all get along, they get along. We all sing Kumbaya. We had everybody's house Christmas and Thanksgiving. But what I've learned, when money comes into play, everything goes awry. And then what I've seen, Attorney Trewick, is that the money and the estate that may have is usually destroyed in fighting because they're paying for all these legal fees if they'd just done it right at the beginning.
Or they don't do anything with the property that their mom left them.
Right.
And then it sits there. The
Right.
property taxes get built up.
Right.
And then you end up losing again in a tax foreclosure sale. Or they don't do anything and generations pass. And then it becomes cost prohibitive when you're a grandchild or a great-grandchild try to do anything with that piece of property.
Right, and one of the other issues is that typically your grandparents or your mom or dad may have had a senior's exemption. A lot of you guys do not leave that exemption on there, and then when you get ready to dispose of that property or sell it, you got this huge tax bill.
Yes.
And so estate planning gives you guidance, because if you've never lost a loved one like that, you have no guidance on what to do.
And some of the times the trouble that you see is the fact that grandpa had a veteran's exemption. He had the homestead exemption, and then he passes, and then you move into the home, and then you lose those exemption, and then you end up getting behind in the taxes, and then you lose your home.
Okay.
So, there are many things that you can do with estate planning. You're talking about, in a situation in America, about 50% of us end up in a divorce. So one in about 2 marriages is going to end up in divorce. In fact, America has one of the highest divorce rates in the world. And when people come to me and they're like, Megone, I need you to help me with their estate plan, they either have one of 6 concerns. The first one, I don't want government in my business. I don't want them telling me what to do. Secondly, I want to minimize my taxes, and I want to minimize the fees that my estate will be faced with. And I want to avoid nursing home costs as much as possible. Fourth, I don't want creditors, and I call them predators, to come after my assets when I transfer them to my children. And I don't want fights in my family. I want to pass things on, and I want to maintain the cordiality between my children. And then, they want to pass this on. They want a legacy. They want to pass on their wisdom and stories, and they don't want it tainted by anything that happens after their passing. And, it's instrumental that we do this. In fact, one of the reasons that I entered estate planning, yes, it's because of my grandfather, but it's also because of my 3 beautiful kids that God blessed me with. I want to make sure that whatever I work hard for, when I pass it on to them, that it's a blessing to them and it's not a curse.
Right.
And I do what I do because they're important to me, and I'm showing love. I'm showing love to your family when you come to sit in front of me for estate planning, and I'm showing love to my children so that I'm passing on the legacy that I'm building while I'm alive. And so when somebody come in front of me, I ask them, what's important to you? What's valuable to you? Many people, if you look at how they work, you may think their finances are valuable to them. But the majority of the people that you speak to will say, my family, my home, my friends, those are the things that are valuable to me. My values, what I pass on, my skills, my relationships. And estate planning helps you to foster that and help to make sure that when somebody remembers you, they're remembering who you are, as opposed to all the strife and all the turmoil that happened after you pass or if you get sick.
All right. We're talking with attorney Megone Trewick. We're going to take a quick break on the Real Estate Corner. We've got to go pay some bills. I want to thank my sponsors, Prosperity Bank and Arrest a Pest. If you got a pest issue, you've got to call Mr. Thomas over at Arrest a Pest. And of course, Prosperity has the best home loan here in Houston. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the Real Estate Corner talking estate planning with attorney Trewick. Welcome back to the Real Estate Corner. I'm your host, Shad Bogany, and we're talking about estate planning here on the Real Estate Corner because it helps you be able to deal with the wealth that you accumulated and help you be able to convey it. You really don't have any wealth if you can't convey it properly. So you may think you got a bunch of land, 100 acres, but if you can't convey it, it's not worth much at all, except for the person who buys it from tax sale because nobody wants to pay the taxes. So anyway, I'm going to turn it back over to Attorney Trewick. She's going to go through some examples and talk a little bit more in detail.
Thank you very much. Yes, so I want to talk first about why some estate plans fail and why it's important to get a trusted person to help you with your estate planning. Many estate plans fail because of bad documents. And many people think you can just go online, I'm going to pull some things up, and I'm going to write my estate plan.
Right.
But just like how you're not the same, I'm not the same as you, we're all unique person, we cannot assume that your estate plan fits mine. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of situation because we're all individuals. So you see estate plans fail because of poor documents. Sometimes they did not have nursing home protection. So you're like, okay, I'm going to own my property, tenants in common with my wife. I don't need any planning. Then you get sick, you have a stroke, you end up in a nursing home, and guess what you just did? Right. All your assets are now subject for a reclaim. Or you may have to liquefy your assets before you can qualify for Medicaid to help you with those nursing home costs.
Wow.
And then you have another situation. They may say, oh, I have my planning, I have my trust, I have my will, and then you ask them, what's in your trust? And you'll find out that their trust was not funded. And I always say that a trust that's not funded is as good as a pen without ink. It's useless.
Okay. So you have to fund the trust.
Otherwise, you have just a piece of paper.
Okay. So explain to us what funding the trust is.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about what funding a trust is. But first, I want to give you an example of what a typical Houstonian family or just American family together have. So to use this example, I'm going to use the Joneses. And so we have, meet the Joneses. You have Bill and Mary. They have 2 children, John and Susan. And, you know, they're happy, wonderful couple. And they decide that they're going to retire. Bill says, I'm going to jump back. I'm going to try to get back my 40-year-old body. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start doing everything that I did not get to do while I was working that 9 to 5. And so, you know, they have the situation. They can do one of 2 things when it comes to their estate plan. They can say, I'm not going to do an estate plan. I'm going to die what you may hear of intestate. I'm going to spend every last dollar I have, and when I go out, you're going to know that I'm well worn out. You're going to see it in my casket, right? That's one option that you can make. Right. And that's called dying intestate. Another one is putting it in tenants in common with somebody. They may put it tenants in common with a child, tenants in common with a spouse. But what happens after you pass? What happens after the spouse pass? The entire estate is subject for a reclaim, is subject to be liquidated. Some people create a simple will. It's called a love note will. I leave everything to my husband leaves everything to me. But that doesn't avoid probate. It doesn't do nursing home planning. You don't have your powers of attorney. You don't have your medical power of attorney. Even if you leave it to your wife, if you're in the hospital and someone needs to make a decision for you financially, guess what? She can't, because she's not your power of attorney. She can't because you didn't do a proper estate plan.
So the power of attorney is part of the estate planning.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and that's really important. And if, you know, I noticed my mom was in the hospital and they were asking, she was asking, do you want to resuscitate? And I'm saying, yeah, we want to resuscitate. And they were sitting, she was sitting there saying, I don't know if I want to do that. And I told and the guy said, well, you need to sit down and sign these documents for that. But I guess if you're doing an estate,
Yes.
you would put that in on
Yes.
how you want your medical to be handled.
Exactly.
Okay.
And what even gets more tenuous, in my field, a lot of people are getting a divorce. Some people pass midway through the divorce.
Oh, wow.
And guess who gets the chance to make those medical decisions for you, or those decisions about what happened to your remains? That spouse that you were just trying to divorce.
Wow, wow. Yeah.
So you,
It's like you win in the lottery and you're in the middle of divorce. You got to split that up.
it's worse than that, because you can split up $200 million and not feel it. But guess what? When you pass, and that divorced spouse that you just said those nasty things about get to claim your body and decide, I'm not going to bury you with dignity.
I'm just going to make your ashes, save on the money, and I'm going to take it.
Or I'm going to exclude your family from your funeral.
They can do that.
The wife or the husband has the paramount right to your remains when you pass. And so if you don't do an estate plan to make sure that that doesn't happen,
wow.
I've seen a whole lot of horror stories. And that's why I say estate planning is for the living. You have to do it while you're alive. You cannot leave it for when you pass. You have to do it now.
Okay.
And so, you know, those are some of the things. So go back to my example, Bill and Mary, they're saying, okay, I'm not going to have a will. I'm just going to leave everything, take care of everything. Then Bill has a stroke. He is incapacitated for a while. He goes into the hospital. His wife wants to pay simple things like paying the mortgage, whatever. Guess what? She can't do those things because Bill used to do those things. Everything is in Bill's name. Bill is now incapacitated. She has to go to the court to get a guardianship over Bill, or what's called a living probate. If you've ever been through a living probate, it can be one of the most humiliating situations. You have to disclose what's wrong with Bill to the extent of every single thing, why he needs it. He's drooling, he has whatever kind of situation. And this is public knowledge. So now your private life is out there for the open. You have to tell the court how much money Bill has in the account. Every little thing. And so you have no privacy. It's humiliating for that person laying there in the hospital room. When if you had done a little bit of estate plan, you could have saved yourself those weeks or months in the courtroom instead of being in the hospital by your loved one's side. So that's the living probate situation.
Okay.
Say in that situation where Bill doesn't have a will, he passes away. Then you have to have death probate at that time. You have to go back to court. She was just in court trying to get the guardianship over Bill, but now she has to go back because she has to probate his estate.
Okay.
Probate is expensive. It takes time. It means that you cannot get to the assets to take care of the affairs. And while you're waiting for a court to decide, you can't make any financial decisions over here to even take care of that person's estate until you get that court order. If you had set up a proper estate plan, you don't have to even go to court in the first place. Nobody has to know the extent of the estate. The creditors, nobody has to know what you have in your estate.
And excuse me for interrupting, but the creditors, once it's in the trust, the creditors don't get to know what's in the trust.
The creditors don't have to know what's in your trust.
Okay.
And if you are married, once you pass, if you have, when you're alive, that trust was revocable. But when you pass, your trust is now irrevocable.
Okay.
And if you're married, a portion of that trust is covered entirely because that's the wife's community estate. And then within that trust, you have credit protection. You even can set it up where you have a remarriage protection so that your portion of the community property doesn't end up in another man's or another woman's purse if when your spouse passes.
And
the
that
second
happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
All the time.
It happens all the
Okay.
time. And so in our situation, these are the big words. The spouse remarries. If Mary remarries without a will, guess what? Her new husband's family can now make a claim against the hard work that Bill did when he was alive. So that's what lack of estate planning does. And then you have Ralph. You know, we're going to introduce Ralph in this picture. Ralph sees Mary. He's like, wow, you know, his wife just passed. He didn't have an estate plan. She ended up in the nursing home and wiped out all of their family's estate.
Okay.
So now he's looking at Mary. You know, they had a $700,000 estate. Mary is now single. Bill is out the picture, and now he sees a meal ticket. Without an estate plan, her entire estate, unless she is very clever, will now become commingled with Ralph and be subject to Ralph's children with his, that's not even Bill's children, coming to make a claim against Bill and Mary's estate. That's how messy dying intestate can look. And so, you know, when you are doing estate planning, you can plan to keep things in your estate. You can plan to make sure that your legacy goes on from generation to generation. And if that's important to you, then you need an estate plan.
Okay.
So, you know, you can even have protection from nursing home costs within your estate plan if you do a trust, and if you do it early, and if you do a Medicaid trust, you can make sure that your assets do not get attached for a Medicaid claim. You can make sure that your assets within the trust do not get counted towards your assets when you're filing for Medicaid.
So if I have a will, it can still.
Yes.
Okay.
A simple will is better than nothing, but
Okay.
it's almost nothing.
Okay. See, guys, I've been telling you guys, y'all got to get a will. Y'all got to get a will. And I knew how California did with their trust, but what I'm learning from you, Megone, is that the same rules are almost the same here in Texas with the trust.
Trust, not all trusts are the same.
Okay.
Just as how you have many colors of the rainbow,
Right.
you can set up your trust just the same. A trust is a unique instrument that a crafty attorney can craft just for you. If you have a child that's special needs, you need a special needs trust.
Wow.
If you have a situation wherein you know from your family history you're going to need nursing home care, and you're, say, 47, 46, whatever, and you come to an estate planning attorney, they can look to the future and make a plan just for you.
Okay.
So that when you reach those crossroads, you can qualify for Medicaid. You don't have to liquidate all your assets. You don't have to disinherit your whole family because you know that you're going to need those nursing home care. If you have a kid that's on drugs that you still want to make sure is taken care of, you can make a specialized trust for that. Not all trusts are the same. That's why you can't just go online and download a trust. Does it work for you?
Okay. All right.
So we have the same situation, Bill and Mary. This time, you know, Bill dies, now Mary is married to Ralph, and, you know, she has a $700,000 estate, and she develops Alzheimer's. Now she needs to go in the nursing home. They didn't do an estate plan. Now the entire estate is subject to being liquefied again. And in this situation, Mary didn't have her powers of attorney set up. And so now she has to go back to court when her Alzheimer's progressed to a situation where she needs a guardian. Now she has to choose between her two children. One of them live out of state, the other one has a drinking problem. Guess what? Even though the daughter who lives out of state is well put together, she has the education, her son, who is the drunkard that lives locally, will be looked at seriously for her guardian.
Wow.
And those are the kind of situation that happens when you fail to plan, because as I say, estate planning is for the living. So,
Right.
So you have a situation wherein Mary passes after a while, her husband passes, the entire estate is now open for these two children. One of them have drinking and drug problem. The other one has, while she's all put together educationally and professionally, she has a bad marriage. So now she has a situation wherein half of Bill and Mary's estate is going to be going to their daughter. This is now not protected from a divorce claim from her husband. And then you have a son on the other side.
So if half my estate goes to my children, if she's married, the husband gets part of that.
If she doesn't treat it right,
Okay.
the husband can get access to it. For instance,
Didn't know that.
let's look at the daughters, Susan's husband. Susan's husband, Jason, doesn't want to work. He just wants to stay home. He just wants to drink. He just wants to sponge off Susan. He knows that she just inherited some money, and they're working on this mortgage. The house is killing them. The mortgage is high. He's like, baby, let's pay off this mortgage. You're working so hard. Let's pay it off so that you don't have to worry about a mortgage.
Wow.
She uses some of that money, pays off the house. Guess what? She just paid off community property.
Right.
And
now the house is community property, and so he gets half of that.
she commingled funds. She took the money and she put it in a
I
joint
hope
bank
you guys
account.
are watching this on TV, here on Iconic. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Iconic. We're taking you through some examples and some scenarios to kind of show you. And guys, these are real life situations.
Real life.
Attorney Trewick is kind of drawing it up, but I see this all the time. And that real issue is that remarrying with kids on both sides.
Yes, sir.
Almost a nightmare if you don't plan.
Oh my gosh.
So we're going to take a quick break with the Real Estate Corner here on Iconic TV. We're here every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and then we repeat this show Sunday evening at 8 p.m. That's on Apple, Fire Stick. You can reach us, just watch us here on 15.10. If you don't have cable or satellite, you can catch us there on digital TV. We'll be right back with the Real Estate Corner. Welcome back to the Real Estate Corner here on Iconic TV. We're talking about estate planning with estate planning, trust, and family law attorney and real estate attorney, Megone Trewick. Ms. Trewick, I'm going to turn it back over. We took a quick break. We had to go pay some bills.
Yes.
But will you continue?
Yes. So we talked about the situation with what can happen with the commingling of funds. Next thing you want to talk about a situation where creditors may come after an heir that you just left money to. In the same situation, John right here is a walking liability.
Okay.
He has creditors galore. He hasn't paid taxes in 10 years. The IRS is looking for him. You just left him $350,000. He put it in the bank. The IRS said, okay, I'm going to take back my taxes that you haven't paid over the years. So lack of estate plan, leave all those dollars out there for creditors to come after. So you have a situation where you're like, okay, Megone, you just scared me silly. What can I do? You have a situation wherein everybody needs an estate plan. You may say, oh, you may have families who do not want to do an estate plan because for whatever reason they think that you're trying to kill them off if they have an estate plan. But for me, when it comes to older people, I like to scare people with the truth. For instance, my grandfather, as I spoke about, did not have an estate plan and instead went to some unscrupulous person to do a trust for him.
Right.
I say, you tell your family members exactly what would happen if they pass. If they have 6 children, and if they have 6 children, 3 from one first marriage, 3 from the second marriage, and now they're happily married, you tell them, Dad or Mom, if something should happen to you today, guess what will happen? The family that was over here that you have left behind, when you pass, is going to come over here with your new family and are going to say, I want half of my mom or dad's estate.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to come in and they're going to drag your loved ones to court and they're going to tie up the entire estate for years and years. What's going to happen while it's being tied up in court? Your affairs will not get taken care of. And you'll end up putting that loved one, that person that you claim you love, through years and years of lawsuit, heartache, and every time they remember you, instead of remembering how they loved you, they're going to remember all of this foolishness that you put them through because you failed to plan.
Wow. And that's what I try to say here on the show. If you really love your loved ones, you really want to make sure that they're taken care of, you've got to do an estate planning. You've got to do it if you really is serious about loving your loved ones, because as Megone just said, what they remember after you pass is all the hell they went through trying to settle your estate. And the family becomes angry at each other.
Exactly.
No more Thanksgiving dinners, no more Christmas dinners together.
Yeah. You know, my family's so blessed. It's a blended family. My in-law family is blended Thanksgiving dinners. Why can you have blended Thanksgiving dinners? Because we planned. We have an estate plan. And not only do we have an estate plan, it's public. Everybody knows what's up.
Right.
And so there is no animosity when we sit at the table. The stepmom can sit there in peace and ease, knowing that while we're cutting the turkey, we're also thinking about how we're going to cut you out of the family as soon. So none of that will happen because grandpa planned. His new wife is going to be taken care of. Everybody knows his wife is going to be taken care of. She's going to remain in the family house. That's what estate planning does. Estate planning allows you to live now and know that when you die, your family will still live on. They will still be able to sit at the same family Thanksgiving table, and they will not be trying to kill each other.
And this is real talk. And you guys that are at home watching us here on Saturday morning with the attorney, Trewick, about estate planning, you have experienced this. This is real life that we're talking about. And the bigger the estate, the worse it gets. But what we're trying to share with you this morning is that you need to plan, whether it's just you or two people or three. You need to plan your estate because we never know when our ticket is being punched.
And you never know. And even if you're single, even if you're not married, even if you're married, you need minimum. If you have assets, set up your trust. If you don't have asset, at least have your will, your medical power of attorney, your durable power of attorney, or your statutory power of attorney. You need your directives to your physician so that you can tell them, if I'm in a vegetative state, this is what I want to have happen.
Okay.
And you need to have your HIPAA, and you need to have your designation of what you want to have happen to your remains.
Wow.
What that does is that if something should happen to you and you're in the hospital, your doctors know what you want. So you can't have a situation wherein you want to be resuscitated and your wife that you just filed a divorce for said, no, Johnny would not want.
Because it will happen. It will happen.
Or you know, just real estate planning is for real life situations. And so, you know, and then, so we have the same situation with Bill and Mary. We're going to give them a do-over.
Right.
We're going to give them a proper estate plan. We're going to give them the trust. We're going to give them the will. We're going to give them the POA. And then I'm going to walk you through with what would happen if they have this set up.
Okay.
So they had the trust. They put the house in the trust. They put all their assets in the trust. Bill and Mary are the trustors, the trustee, and the beneficiary. What
they are that, not the attorney who drew it up, Bill and Mary.
Thank you. Thank you. And this is a revocable trust. So these are different kind of trusts. If you had come to me and you said, I have a history of dementia or whatever, I would not set up this trust for you. But for them, this is a revocable trust. They're the trustors. They're the trustee. They're the beneficiary. So even though the assets are not in their name, because they hold all three positions, they still get their homestead exemption. They still can mortgage the house. They can still sell the house. Nothing functionally changed.
Okay.
Only on paper it changes. And when this happens and you fund the trust, put stuff inside the trust.
So that's what funding is.
That's what funding is.
It's putting things in the
Put
trust.
things in the trust.
Okay.
Otherwise, all you have is a piece of paper that's worthless. But you put things in the trust while you're alive, then when you pass, they become irrevocable. Or if something should happen to you, your new trustee steps in, manages your entire affairs, smooth transition, no big going to court, no big hoopla.
So if I've got a trustee and I'm all three of those, do I have a substitute trustee that somebody can come in if I'm incapacitated to
Yes.
handle it? Okay.
So in this situation with Bill and Mary hold all position. Something should happen to Bill. So Bill have the same stroke, goes in the hospital. Mary steps in, she manages the affairs. She has his medical power of attorney. She can direct the doctor with what to do. Guess what? She doesn't need to go to living probate because she's the trustee. All the assets are owned by the trust. She can pay the mortgage. If she needs to change stuff around so that Bill qualifies for Medicaid, she can sell whatever, move things. She doesn't have to do any of the other things that you had to do if you didn't have a proper estate plan done. After Bill passes, no need to go to the probate court because all the property is in the trust name.
Wow. Okay. Got it.
So in the same situation, Mary develops Alzheimer's. In the trust document, they had said, okay, if something happens to me, this person is going to be the successor trustee. Mary can't make any more decisions because her Alzheimer's progressed. No need to go to court. Somebody steps in, manages her affairs. Her successor trustee would step in to manage her affairs. She passes, no need to go to probate court.
Wow.
The trust document will dictate what should happen. So in the same situation, 2 kids, 2 problems. We have a problem marriage. We have a son who has drinking and drug problem. You would never turn over money to those 2 people. One, you set up a family SENTRY trust for the one that has the drug and drinking problem, and you set up a family access trust for the one that may have a marital problem. I would suggest a family access trust even if your child is in a loving marriage.
Right.
Why? You want to protect the assets. You want to protect the assets for the next generation.
Right.
And you want to also give that child autonomy over what you're giving them.
Wow. Okay.
And so the same thing. Family access trust, you gave that money to the daughter. Guess what? The husband can't touch the property in this family access trust that you just set up for your daughter. Same thing.
So if you get a divorce, he has no access to it.
No access to it.
Okay.
And even back when Mary got married, if Mary could remarry Ralph, there is divorce protection within the trust that you have, wherein Ralph's children and Ralph can't access the trust. Same thing, you have the family SENTRY trust for the son. The son doesn't have direct access to this money because he has a drug problem. You would have a trustor in there, a trustee in there for him, so that trustee can get him an apartment if they need to, put him in rehab if they need to. And within the trust, you can set up parameters for if he, should get clean and sober, he can manage his own trust. If you have a special needs child, you can set up a special needs trust within your trust. So all those things, when you plan and you love the loved ones around you, you can make sure that you take care of your affairs while you're alive and you're living, because estate planning, I'm beating the same drum, is for the living.
Living, okay.
And so some of you out there may have a will. Some of you may have a will and a trust. And I say to you, is your trust funded? If your trust is not funded, you have an empty box. You have a useless pen. You have just a piece of paper.
Okay. So like, would you put in retirement and stuff like that?
You can make the trust the beneficiary for everything.
Okay, so if I have any retirement, it goes to?
Yes, you can make within the trust. What's beautiful, you want a charity to be a beneficiary, you can add a charity to be the beneficiary. You want your children to be the beneficiary after you pass, the children are the beneficiaries after you pass. You want the trust to be dissolved when the youngest child becomes 45, you can do that. When you have a trust, your will be done. Unlike a will. When you have a trust, your will be done. And if you have sat through this entire show, you get to have a free personal consultation with me. The phone numbers are up there. You can call Carenza, Juliana, or my number is there. Give me a call. It's a free 1 hour, $350 value. Just for you, for your free personal consult. If at the end you want to say, yes, Megone, I've been dilly-dallying, I've been procrastinating, I need an estate plan, we're ready to go ahead. If after you've spoken to me, you're still a no, I love you, please go to somebody else and get your estate plan. But either way, this is my free gift to you. Give me a call.
All right, we've been talking with Attorney Trewick, and we've been talking about estate planning. Guys, if you have real estate, properties, you've got money in the bank, you've got you got health issues, and you want to be concerned on how that's going to be taken care of, special need kid that lives with you, if something happens to you, how that's going to be handled. Well, the estate planning is the way to go. I realize now that the will just doesn't get it, and I thought it did. And so even after doing this radio and TV for all these years, I've now learned something again because I'm open-minded about learning. And I want to thank Megone Trewick, the attorney. Give your firm's number out, how they can call you if they want to take advantage. Give that out again.
So if you enjoyed what you have heard and you want to hear more, on the 9th of December, 6 p.m., you can go to Facebook. As I said, go to brianfagan.com, register for my free webinar. It's going to be 6 p.m. on the 9th. You can, if you don't want to do that, you can reach us. You can reach Carenza at 281-241-4916, or you can call Juliana 281-810-9760. Feel free to reach out to me. I love talking about estate planning, love talking about real estate.
Okay. And you are a real estate attorney, as we said at the beginning of the show, so if you need a real estate attorney, you can do that too.
This is a real estate planning consultation almost every time somebody comes to talk to me.
Okay. Guys, you've been watching the Real Estate Corner. I'm here every Tuesday. Every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Of course, you can catch me every Tuesday on the Real Estate Corner radio show from 6:15 to 7:15 on KWWJ 1360 and 96.9 FM. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter. You know, guys, we're here to help you and guide you through the real estate process. And so all my clients who watch this show, you bought a house from me, you might want to think about doing some estate planning. And I bring the best in, and I think I've done that. Somebody who's going to explain it to you. Somebody can give you real live examples. And I just want to thank you again for watching the Real Estate Corner. Oh, follow us on YouTube. Go out and like our channel. Share it with someone else. Go to YouTube. Follow us. And I just want to say, Megone, thank you so much for coming in and being a guest here on the Real Estate Corner. Thank you.
My pleasure.